And welcome back to Contemporary Black Voices. And my name is Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell. And today's topic is what can we do to protect our Black kids in school? In the last segment, when I closed, it's kind of like my mind went somewhere else because I just cannot fathom what this child went through, and the school did nothing to intervene. And they're talking about immunity, they're talking about tort laws and things like that. A child tried to take her life because of constant bullying. The principal is white, the superintendent is white. So I'm making an assumption that the kids involved were white. So we're going to be having this discussion. I'm going to let the guys roll with it. What can we do to take care of our kids? What are your thoughts about the story?
I mean, it's tragic, and my heart goes out to that family. It goes out to Kalia. I mean, when you were reading the story, I was just thinking. I mean, she's on she's has to have a breathing tube. She has to have a feeding tube, and she's confined. I mean, for all intents and purposes, she committed suicide. You know what I mean? She was successful because her life is not the same. Her life is basically, um, for all intents and purposes,
It's gone.
it's gone. Yeah. So she was successful. I mean, uh, where's the law enforcement? Where's the juvenile statutes? Uh, where's the school on this right now? School administration. What's the consequences for little girls? Are they still free to roam the halls and bully? You know what I mean? They're 14 years old right now. They're still either in middle school or freshmen in high school. And so there has to be some kind of repercussions. But I mean, as far as what we can do, um, it's, again, we all have to uh, take responsibility as a community. And so even if, I mean, well, I'm gonna put it like this, you know what? And I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I when I went to a similar situation, and when I got a call that my daughter was being bullied, I got up and walked to my boss, said, "Hey man, I got to go to Brennan. My daughter's being bullied." There was no questions asked. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, the only thing he said, "Let me know if you need me," is what my boss said. You know what I mean? So there was nothing he could have said that would have stopped me and made me stay at work. You know what I mean? When he couldn't nothing have stopped me and made me stay at work. So I mean, again, it's and hell, I need my job just like everybody else needs theirs. But my priority is protecting my children. So and whereas I definitely understood, you know, uh, when people are working and people have commitments, but at the same time, when the first inkling that your child is being threatened or your child is into a physical altercation at your child, I'd camp out at that school. You know what I mean? If I have to be there every day, I'd be there every day. And if absent my being able to be there every day, another parent, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, when my daughter went through it, you know what I mean? It was me telling her cousins, like, hey, these they in high school. You know what I mean? Like, yo, these are, and it didn't matter because she had some cousins that were in high school that was trying to leave their high school and go up to that high school. I mean, again, it's like taking care of each other as a family, as a community. You know what I mean? Even if the parents could not have been there, were their grandparents or aunts or uncles or neighbors or somebody who could have made phone calls to that school, to that district. Uh, if the district was not being responsive, I mean, if the school was not being responsive, is there a district office that is more responsive? Is there a mayor's office? Is there a local representative? Is there someone that you can escalate to that would have made a phone call that would have gotten some action?
Let me answer or ask a few questions and maybe make a few statements. Number one, I think we're getting kind of what we asked for. History is repeating itself. We're getting a lot of, this is almost as bad as a what was the guy that was murdered in 1955?
Emmett
Emmett Till. Yeah, it's almost as bad as an Emmett Till situation, but happening by kids. It happened in South Carolina, and it seems like to me that the school district is saying they are either somewhat immune or
That's what they said.
or the amount of damage that is capped.
Right.
Okay, that's a travesty. But that's again when I say we are getting what we asked for. This is what we asked for. When you've got people who aren't voting, this is a result of not voting. So when you talk about again, what can we do? On the surface, I want to say nothing. But at the same time, I want to say it's the men who now have to protect our women and babies. And we've got to go back to a situation where we're going to be able to do that. And I don't know how we come together to be able to do that, but it's incumbent upon us to find a way to be able to get those things done. Now, the next thing that I'm saying is you mentioned that it was filed in district court. And I'm wondering why, because that gave an implication like it was filed in a federal court as opposed to a state court. And I don't know that the federal at this particular time would have any jurisdiction over that particular situation.
Maybe because of the equal rights protections, all of the protections under Title 7 or 9 were violated. The school is supposed to provide a safe learning environment. It was obvious that this is not a safe learning environment. So it probably was filed with the district, but because they were getting federal funding from the government, I can see where it's going. It can go both ways.
I think, and I don't know this to be a fact, but I believe in order for them to take that route as to what you're saying, you have to get permission from the government to be able to sue them. You can't just open up, because if that's the case, their suit could be thrown out. But I think there's more to this than what I'm hearing. But that was a question that I had: is why are they in district court?
That's you have to from the federal government. You have to get permission. But
Yes.
They're suing the school district in federal court.
In federal court,
Right.
yeah.
So you can sue the school district in federal court for some reason, because it was a violation of her civil rights.
But they don't have jurisdiction.
Who? The federal government?
No.
The federal government does have jurisdiction over that school
Yeah,
district.
because
I don't
Because they
believe
have
it.
all the
federal,
different
because they get
titles.
federal funds.
all the titles.
Okay.
Right.
And see, okay, we don't want to slip back into Project 2025, but we need to start slipping back into the understand. With this new administration coming into play in January, one of the things they want to do is remove all regulations, and the removal of regulations really impacts the Black community, I'm gonna say the most, because if this case goes to the federal court and there are no regulations to protect this child, then there's nothing that can be done if they have it their way. So we have to be aware of the laws, and if there are regulations that are intact, that we can hang our hat on. And I'm hoping that these parents can get this resolved before January. If the Department of Education is eliminated, and I doubt it's going to be, but if certain regulations are removed, this family is going to have a hard time getting the monies that they deserve to take care of their child. Now, school districts do have money set aside for lawsuit, and it's generally it's a cap number, but that doesn't mean that, I'm not sure, but I don't think that you got the cap, but there may be some other ways to where a family can get more. But there is a cap amount. I'm thinking back about my time when I was a campus administrator, and I had a problem with one of my Black children, and I contacted the father, and instead of letting it simmer, he was in my office within 15 minutes. And he says, you contact me, don't contact my wife. I can get here the quickest. So we had that type of relationship. In terms of Kalia's parents, we don't know their financial situation. We really don't. And a lot of us trust the school system to do what it's supposed to do. But I'll be the first to say that even though I am a product of the school system, I worked in the school system, that there are some questionable people on these campuses. And so I know that I used to sit back and laugh about what we call helicopter parents. And these are the parents who just hover over the classrooms, just hover. They're watching, they want to make sure their child is taken care of, right? But we need to look at getting a system of hoverers. If there's a problem at a school and you can't get on, who can you call? Who can you call? We need to have a system in place, because I remember getting the phone calls even after I left the school system and was minding my own business. Parents would contact me because of issues that their kids were having, and I would go before the school board, and I only had 3 minutes to talk. But I bring in a team of people behind me, and we had 3 minutes apiece. And we're going to continue this discussion in a minute, and I'll be back to continue.